Welcome to this edition of In-Depth Alaska. I'm Tracy Sinclair. Anchorage Mayor Suzanne LaFrance sat down with reporter Lauren Maxwell to discuss the financial situation of the city of Anchorage, including the possibility of significant cuts and a potential sales tax.
How would you characterize our financial situation right now? Would you say it's dire or?
Well, our community is at a crossroads, and it's clear we can no longer rely on state funding. It's also clear that we rely too much on property taxes. So it's up to us to figure out how are we going to fund what we have? How are we going to provide the infrastructure and the services our community wants and needs? How are we going to build the future that we want?
Are we facing some big cuts if we don't find new revenue sources?
It is accurate to say that we're looking at a fiscal cliff. And as we look at the budget, and we dug in this year during the budget process, and we used a lot of one-time funds to close gaps, but we no longer have that state funding. Back in 1984, the state provided almost a third of the municipality's operating budget. Now it's less than 1%. The state also provided capital funds that were used to maintain our roads, to do road projects that were used to build some of the facilities we have through Project 80s. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we no longer have that funding from the state, and so that's a big burden to put on property taxpayers to maintain all that infrastructure.
When did you decide that a sales tax was the way to go? And were you in favor of the one that not the chamber, but I guess it was ADC, no, the chamber, with the 3% that they were initially proposing earlier this year?
I really appreciate how the group with Project Anchorage got the conversation going and facilitated those conversations in our community. I believe that we need to have a component in any revenue proposal that includes money for public safety and taking care of our infrastructure. And potentially, too, we can do some big projects, and we need to, but we have got to figure out a way to take care of the roads and the buildings, the infrastructure that we have, and to provide the public safety services that we very much need in our community.
So is it fair to say that you didn't support that particular initiative because it didn't include that component?
I liked some of the features of it, but yes, I believed it needed to have some changes before I could fully get behind it.
Mm. And that one didn't even get through the assembly, and that one also included a much heftier share for property tax relief. And I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that in terms of just, this has a smaller section devoted to property tax relief. Why do you think that this one might be more successful?
We're trying to find the right balance, and we believe that we're bringing forward a thoughtful, balanced proposal, one that has something hopefully for everyone. And I recognize this is one big compromise, and we really have to figure out a way to do it ourselves. We have got to grab a hold of that piece. It's not going to get any easier the longer we wait. And so I believe that this approach of 1 penny on the dollar for property tax relief, another penny on the dollar for public safety and infrastructure, and another penny on the dollar for building out our future through investing in housing and childcare is a way to meet the needs we have in our community and really help us build the future that we want to see here in Anchorage.
Now, of those three ways that it would be divided, are they all equally important in your mind? Are they all equally pressing issues, or is there one that takes precedence over the others?
They all go together. We rely very heavily on property taxes, and Anchorage is unusual. Many other jurisdictions in Alaska have sales taxes, and we're one of the few that don't. As far as infrastructure goes, we have got about $1 billion liability in our drainage system, our stormwater drainage system. It's going to take a lot of time to rebuild and to bring those assets back up to where they need to be. And that would be really hard to bond for all that. That doesn't take into account our aging facilities like the PAC and the Sullivan Arena and the Dempsey, and our pools need a lot of work. The municipality owns the pools. So there's a lot of work we need to do. At the same time, we know that we need more housing here, and we want to stop the outmigration of our young people, and housing and childcare are ways that we can do that. We can stabilize the workforce and jumpstart our economy.
What about some of the naysayers? And I'm thinking of some of the more conservative Assembly members, Keith McCormick, people like that. A couple of the points, I mean, this is something I believe a lot of people would question. Once you get a tax, it never goes away, it never gets smaller. There's property tax relief in the first year or so, but what's to stop that, you know, the creep that people fear of more and more taxes?
Well, it's about the kind of community we want to live in. And we know that, for example, snow removal is really important here. And sure, we could cut that budget and we could reduce that cost, and it would result in reducing that level of service. We know that we need more police officers here in our community, and that's going to cost more money. And it's a cost that we will likely carry with us depending on what size our community is and how we grow. So yes, I think that's accurate. I mean, as a homeowner, I don't expect my utility bills to go away. I know that I'm always going to have to paint my house. I'm going to have to replace that roof. And the longer I wait, the more it costs. And I can understand those concerns, and we are very mindful, I'm very mindful of affordability. It's expensive to live here, and we also know we need these services. People, it's not just coming from me. You know, people have said, we want to be a place where our roads are maintained and the snow is removed, and we have fast response times when we call 911. We want these services and these amenities, and that's important to our community.
And so I, I did point out Keith McCormick because he's pretty vocal. He claims he can cut $6.1 million, something like $6.5 million out of the budget without touching essential services. And some of the things that he's talked about are, you know, discretionary travel and assembly meals and administrative overtime. Are there areas of the budget that you think there is some fat that could be cut?
We're constantly tightening up. And, you know, when you can cut, when you look at cutting travel, oftentimes you're cutting training. And there are some details in there that, you know, get lost sometimes when people propose cuts, but we're always making cuts and tightening up and figuring out how to do things more efficiently.
Do you think there's millions of fat there somewhere?
I don't think so. I mean, again, I think it's what level of service do you want? And I understand the Assembly member is proposing cutting vacant positions. Well, we need more police officers. And if we cut those vacant positions, we're going to be cutting police officers. I do not agree with that. So yes, we could save money by doing what the Assembly member suggests, cutting police officers, maybe firefighters. I don't know exactly the specifics, but we need those services. So I don't support those kinds of cuts.
What would you say to Assembly members about urging them, I would assume, to put this on the ballot?
I would say, and we've been having conversations with members of the Assembly because we would need 8 votes to move this to the ballot. I would say, if not this, we've got to have something. We've got to have a plan to take care of what we have and provide the services residents want and need, and to build the future that we want here in Anchorage. It's not going to get any easier the longer we wait. We've got to do this ourselves. It's us to solve this problem, and the numbers are real. They don't lie, And we've got to figure out a compromise and find a way forward together.
That's all I was going to ask you. Is there anything else you think is important to add or you want folks to know?
Well, I think that it's important for people to know that our projections, Treasury's projections show that sales tax revenues would be paid, 36% would be paid by people outside of the municipality and tourists. And that's an important piece.
Thanks for listening to this edition of In Depth Alaska. Please like and follow this podcast.